The farm that fed the dead, the chilling Hinterkaifeck murders. It began with footprints in the snow, leading straight to the farmhouse, but never away from it. Inside, a family was being watched. And days later, they would all be found dead, their killer still inside, tending to their animals, sleeping under their roof, and eating their food. This is the Hinterkaifeck Murders, one of the most disturbing unsolved crimes in history. Germany, 1922. The Bavarian countryside, quiet, cold, and remote. A place where winters swallowed sound and neighbors were few and far between. At the edge of a dense forest sat a lonely farmhouse known as Hinterkaifeck. It belonged to Andreas Gruber, a strict reclusive farmer who lived there with his wife Casilia, their widowed daughter Victoria, Victoria's 2 children, little Casilia and baby Joseph, and their maid, Maria Baumgartner. 6 souls, isolated in a house surrounded by silence. But in the weeks before their deaths, something, or someone, was drawing closer. Strange things began happening around the farm. Footprints appeared in the snow, leading toward the house, but not back out. Andreas heard footsteps in the attic, though he found nothing when he searched. A newspaper showed up on the porch from a town no one in the family had visited. Then, their house keys vanished. Even their maid, frightened by the strange noises and eerie atmosphere, packed her belongings and quit. Her replacement, Maria, arrived the very day of the murders. That night, March 31st, 1922, Hinterkaifeck went dark. What happened next is a nightmare frozen in time. Investigators believe the killer lured each family member, one by one, into the barn. Perhaps they heard a noise. Perhaps someone called out. There, he waited in the shadows with a mattock, a heavy, axe-like farming tool. Andreas was struck first. Then his wife, Casilia. Then Victoria, and finally, little Casilia, only 7 years old, who survived long enough to tear her own hair out in fear and agony. Inside the house, the killer murdered Maria, the maid, in her bed, and smothered 2-year-old Joseph in his crib. 6 bodies. 1 weapon. No witnesses. But the true horror began after the killings. For nearly 4 days, smoke rose from the farmhouse chimney. Neighbors saw someone feeding the animals, cooking meals, and even milking the cows. The killer, whoever they were, had stayed behind, living among the dead. When a concerned neighbor finally went to check on the family, he found the grisly scene: bodies stacked in the barn beneath straw, the house eerily silent, and the animals calm, as if nothing had happened. Police launched one of the largest investigations in German history. Over 100 suspects were questioned, from farmhands to ex-lovers. The weapon, the mattock, was found hidden in the barn rafters. But there were no fingerprints, no footprints, no clues to who had done it. Then came the rumors, dark, tangled, and impossible to ignore. Some believed Victoria's dead husband had returned for revenge. Others whispered that Victoria's father, Andreas, had been sexually abusing her, and that little Joseph was the product of incest. Could the murders have been a cover-up? Or vengeance for sins committed in silence? Even decades later, DNA tests and modern forensics offered no answers. The farm was eventually demolished, leaving behind only soil soaked in secrets. 100 years later, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain one of Europe's most haunting unsolved crimes. No justice. No closure. Only the chilling thought that someone, maybe a neighbor, maybe a stranger, walked into that farmhouse, took 6 lives, and vanished into the snow as if they never existed. This is not just a story about death. It's about fear, isolation, and the monsters that hide behind familiar doors. Because sometimes, evil doesn't come from the outside world. It's already home. This is Trial and Terror. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe, as we uncover the darkest crimes and coldest mysteries the world has ever known. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, justice begins with truth.